Everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Polina here, talking to you a little bit about what is happening with the moon that is happening on the 9th of October. So the only thing I got to tell you guys is everybody's got to go their own way. Everybody's got to teach themselves something new, but we can't really do it without each other. So it's like about keeping sovereignty and happiness and the ideal that you've got it and you're writing this alone in a way. So this need for independence is right. If you are very needy right now and you want to have more than others, or you're competitive sometimes, it is just because you want to survive it, you want to hack it by yourself. Then there's also this other wave of energy which tells me the opposite. So it's like we can't really get there, we can't really do it without having a friend near, or sometimes we need many different assistances and many different therapies or many different eyes to help us understand and see our story correctly. So we have a very, very good for you and very healing Venus if you know how to use that energy correctly. Venus is next to the Sun. That means you might have a lot to do with yourself if you need some healing. If you are kind of slightly closed or you want to feel left behind, maybe something is uneven or uneasy. And for those of us that don't have any problems, there might be a little bit of extroversion or an extra sheen on things. And then also you got to look at you and feel good about yourself. So I talked about this in October video, feeling grateful for what you have and how far you've come and feeling pretty good enough. And then at the same time, on the other end, we do have that shock value mentality. So Jupiter and Moon are pretty close, and she would have just passed Neptune in the sky. So there is a question mark. What's yours is mine. Yeah, sounds good, but I want more than you. Or like, well, this person deserves more. Why can't I have as much as them? So this competitive cycle might start to come to an end also for a lot of us. Questioning reality, playing with whim or comedy in a bad way, listening to other people but not really hearing them, making mean jokes about people, being unkind, or circulating with the wrong crowd. That's all going to start to come to an end for some people. So if you are a mother or father of an unruly teenager, or if your spouse is a childlike spouse and they are usually uncontrollable and not very easy to understand, and it's hard to clean up after them, it's hard to clean their messes, you might actually find a level of compliance in some cases coming up to the foreground. So a previously unruly or uncontrollable aspect of a situation can also come to an end. Also, there is a very, very good way to be in this world, and that is to be exact. I feel that quite a lot of it is not going to be up to you unless you really have yourself together. So some of us are very whimsical people, and we want to experiment, as North Node next to Uranus would suggest. We want to experiment, we want to experience life in a very, very kind of unruly or kind of a skeptical way. Sometimes people want to be a little bit a part of this, not a part of that, and they want to be all around the place, and they want to try all these many things or versions of life. And then there is this kind of like experimentation over moment, which is actually a really good part of Libra and Aries opposition. It's like, look, stop looking, you got it, just do it on this level. So sometimes it's really hard, like for me, as probably a lot of other people, if you're quite used to experimentation, if experimentation takes you to that next level of yourself. So if you are somebody who really loves to use the psyche to enable yourself to look at new dreams and look at how far you've come through that also, and it seems fine, but you see life feels uneasy, and a lot of it can be like a non-event or a non-future if it is not stable. So stability and that naivety that we feel when things are stable, nice and kind and calm with North Node and Taurus is going to get you there faster. So just like drawing a line, I think that a lot of people have to draw the line on speculation. I trust that most of us have to be very, very kind and simple in terms of who we actually are and who we aren't, and also deliver ourselves from constant attention seeking or any kind of seeking. So seeking for people to join our clan, seeking for ideas to fulfill ourselves, seeking for that next ingredient or that next common ground. Quite a lot of seeking, specifically, especially if it is all going towards that one direction, like when am I going to get married, or when am I going to meet this person, when am I going to make this money, when am I going to get this job, like this directional seeking can be very crucial at this time, and it can break your back. So if you have any muscle aches or spasms in the body, if your bone system or your nervous system is not very well, you might maybe see the end of it. So you might see a resolve of a very big question mark in your health, as Chiron is going to be next to the moon this time, or there is not going to be an end of it. So it's going to be a law. So this is an interesting way to see it. If you have an illness or an ailment or a toxic pattern come up, and you definitely know that you are ready to shed this shadow, and I feel that for quite a lot of people there's going to be at least one question mark. So it's like whether or not you should or should not be eating a certain way, whether or not you should or should not be with a certain person, whether or not you should be following a certain guideline or rule book or a certain pattern of behavior, is going to come to an end, or it's going to come to a perpetuity. So quite a lot of people, it's quite important, quite a lot of people are either going to have to suffer it for a long time and maybe clean up eventually with time, with a lot of prayer and such, or there's going to be a hack. Now this is a very, very wise and smart. If you want to, you can stop or seize this pattern of attainment. I already talked about this in October video, sort of kind of calling Venus Lucifer in a way. So this pattern of growths and sediments and wanting greater, wanting to get the next slice out of life, wishing for a better man, or wishing for a more lucrative career, you know, wishing for things. If you can just narrow it down to what you have and start to get grateful and simple about your life, there's quite a lot of pattern that you can probably evolve out of. So Libra is a book, Libra, in a way, it is a book. It sometimes can be kind of a sign of mastery or Akashic record, seeking, understanding, question and response. You know, so it's not just a jurisdiction system, it's not just the law enforcement, it's like more about like the conscious, careful understanding and unraveling of the previous results, and understanding what has come out the other side. It's like, and yeah, so I did all of this, and then as a result, I've got what do I have? So it's not necessarily about speculation unless it's needed. I trust that most people's gaze, Mars and Gemini, the eyes, most people's lifetimes, yeah, Venus at an aspect to Mars, also at a trine to Saturn as well there, everybody's lifetime or everybody's gaze is going to naturally, uncomfortably even, go directly towards that which is now going to have to be fulfilled or answered. So if you don't have that answer for something, try not to jolt around. Some people have a big problem come up, for example, aches and pains. Perfect. Okay, full moon in Aries. Aches and pains, heartaches, questions, endless searching, patterns that you don't want to any longer keep up with, relationships that you know now are not going to end well, or criticism or irregularities. Libra does not like irregularity. She likes everything smooth, simple, and under control. So if you have these things come up now, it's a really good question mark to answer. But some of the time we don't have all the answers yet. So it's a very, very nice time to research, to go online. It's also a very, very good time to ask somebody how or why. You might be led on to a bunch of question marks, and then they also maybe need to get answered. And then maybe also those previous question marks that you've had in your mind from a year ago are going to get some answers if you are ready to research and if you are ready to learn, as Chiron is the key. It is the wounded healer, as I say. It's not about this epic, like, you know, monstrosity of never ever being able to heal your own wounds. It's like, let's not go into the wounded healer thing, because I don't actually trust that's what Chiron is about. I think that Chiron is the chironic, like ironic, the chironic message, I think, is more about trust the God within and understanding of the key for every door, but it's just about warming up to that little piece of you that is squirming around. So yeah, also if you wanted to, can follow my joy. This is basically how I find keys in my body. So I've been learning to relax. If you feel any pain or if you feel any speculation in your mind, so this could be physical, biological, or just emotional pain, ease into it and just get warm with it, get comfortable with it, and you might just be able to crack all of your story. So relaxation and generosity, and understanding how energy or nature distributes itself, how money is distributed through society, how people walk their walk, how people live their lives, how things are made, just relevant things like recognizing what things are made of, and where they're from, and how people have grown into certain type of crystalline, or how can I say, permanent or even egoic states. Ego, Aries, moon in Aries. We have to just basically find the joy, and sometimes, yeah, find the filth on it. Yeah, sure, we can, dig all we want, but we also have to find a level that we are comfortable with. And I'm not telling you to close your eyes. It's just like finding a nice neutral. So like sometimes, people talk a lot. We get it, like talking it out, everything great. But then there is something else that happens in the heart that we really forget, and I feel that is gratitude. So coming back to the original video in October, just having gratitude and the grace to admit things are what they are. And then to evolve that part that wants to seek something outside of your life, outside of the probable or the possible, or outside of what is here and now, in order to kind of get you that next level result. Also, I think it would be really nice to see, you don't need to do this, but if you have time, if you're like an older person, if you're retired, or you just like simply like to sit around, like I like to do as well, I also like it. Just understand which in life, sometimes you like in Russian we call it etogi, etog. It's como like this is it, like you see what you have come to. Okay, like you see, okay, this is what I've come to. This is my neutral. Okay, it's very good to see what life has given you, and also please understand how you have now a choice or a chance to witness your life evolve and expand, but you don't have to. So sometimes it's like this, look, I have done all of this and I've made all of this, and now actually, you know what, when I sit down as if I was an elder, so Saturn in Aquarius, the elder sign, second to last sign, as I sit down and I think about my life, okay, Taurus North Node, Uranus, as I believe in myself more, and as I now see everything in perspective, I don't subscribe to this behavior anymore. Or like now that I've seen myself pass a certain test, I know now what was holding me back. And then some people could say, I could write a book about it. I could tell a story, at least one or two stories. And for a lot of people, it is about the art of forgiving and forgetting. And that's a hard thing to do for the Western ear, right? Forgive and forget. Or it's like, I can forgive, but I can't forget, or I can forget, but I can't forgive, or something like that. I will not do this, will not do that. So like the Western territory, I definitely understand. It's very hard to find a neutral, and in a sense to be pious about the executive decisions that one has made in their life, or that another person has made for them. So now we understand, okay, culture, karma, recognition of certain games that we play as people. Also, if we are hunting for something, if we are hunting for somebody, if we want to experience our life in a certain way, sometimes it can give us pain or excruciating results after. So the karmic wheel, doesn't need to get broken down entirely, as I do definitely love to do that sometimes. We just have to be basically after the one thing. And to me, Libra at its core, at its best, is just about space and time, and a certain like feeling of relaxation and safety. And sometimes the most that we can achieve is just an okayness that something has happened or that something has passed, and to just understand ourselves now as just simple people. So coming of age, understanding what you're talking about, understanding the way that you were maybe for a long time, realizing your life plans, recognizing if you have pain in your back or your body or anywhere, if your joints are aching, if your stomach is rumbling, if you have any kind of repetitive behavior, if you don't know why you're still eating like this, stop it. Like understanding how people are in the world, suddenly realizing what took you so long to get there. And some of it, yeah, needs to be written down. So I write, I'm a writer, I love it. If you like, you can write it down in the comment section below as well, or you can write it for yourself what you believe really went down. And it's kind of like a passing of one spectrum and passing on into another. Well done if you want to do this. Tell the stories, you know. So if we are also late in life, okay, or we feel there is a lateness, like I've done all of these things, or I've like made all of these movies, or I've written all of these letters, or I've done all of these shockingly experiencing or emotional, whatever, you know, like big, big, big things. And at the end of my quest, or like at the end of my time, for example, on YouTube, or at the end of my time on social media, or at the end of the trail, you know. And then basically, like, I can tell not a lot of people necessarily want to be that. You can always be a savior of another person by globalizing or educating or just saying, like sharing, look, this is not what life is about, or like, look, this is not where I found peace, or the joy of my life, like the flame, like the joy of the heart has withered and then it has come alive again because of this or that. So there is a very nice way in which people share not just their wisdom and their kindness, but also their journeys. And please don't underestimate the power of understanding your journey today. So that's the most possible, plausible, and hopeful thing I feel for quite a lot of people is just basically if you wanted to just share what you've been through. And as banal as it is, just share the story and tell the truth. So maybe not for a lot of people because everything is so results based in this time. I feel that it's all about like bling, 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 like show me the money, or like where is that, you know, show me that big white smile, or show me those big wide eyes. And I do believe that's also going to help some people at least somehow come out of their cycle. So sometimes lust or love for the frivolous and for the mindless does make us feel more good somehow. Like, you know what, don't I don't care anymore. I'm just gonna go out and buy myself that milkshake, and I'm gonna go down and see the movies, and I'm gonna go stroll down the waterfront and wear my bright pink sexy dress. And you know, sometimes people like to do that. So that shortcut into kind of like adventure or the wonder of what life is. The next masculine sign to Libra is Sag. Also, we have Jupiter and Moon making contact in the sky before she comes close to Chiron and Aries. You know, this adventurer, like the holiness of your life and the holiness of your voice, does need to maybe resonate with at least some people. So some of us are resonant and some of us aren't. And that's it. We have to be happy with that. There are lots of people that are drawing attention or power from their journeys and recognizing their ill will or their hardship or their anger or fright or, you know, their passion or their beauty more. And then there is this other factor of us not caring now, not being seen, not being in view, not being in perspective. So if something suddenly closed, or you recently figured out that you don't want to do something, or that you do, it's like, are you in or you out? You know, when you open the door and the cat doesn't know whether it's inside the house or outside, and it's thinking it's in between and it doesn't want to make a decision, that time will normally in Libra naturally come to a certain change, and it's like, look, I'm just going to go inside, or like I'm going to stay outside. So this whole business of speculation, is this in or is it out, is it good or is it bad, is this adorable or is it uncomfortable, it's now starting to face itself. And many of us just have to basically share the normal neutrality or the normal curiosity that we would just simply have. So if you have something that is natural for you to share, and if you've come to a certain type of point that you know now is kind of significance, it would be a wonder to go and give that gift to somebody else or to write about it. Writers, leaders, people that can really make also, yeah, some money from teaching or educating other people, and also people, of course, that don't necessarily want to do that, but they would like to leave an anonymous comment or help somebody out in a, not necessarily a private, it's not about privacy here, it's in a more secluded setting. I definitely understand. We have Palace coming very close to Black Moon Lilith, so we have this kind of right to also close the door and not disclose all of our hearts. But there is a question mark of the natural community and the growth and the spirit also. We have now found out what we're worth. So, not everybody, but a few of us, I believe, are going to get, for example, a paycheck for the work that they have submitted this year, or they're going to get a balancing out. We can now see what we're worth in a group or society, or not, sounds really dry, that sounds bad, but like where we have come to be. So if we are trying, and we're not getting any results, you got to see that, to be happy as well. Like, it's part of the happiness that you will feel later when you understand that's not worth anything. So the more that I distribute my energy, the less that I am worthy, or the more that I try to share things with you, the less you hear me. So like that kind of condescending part of reality at the moment is also a worthy cry for attention for some people. I do definitely believe that some people are going to push it to a complete extreme to know it's not worthy of them. So like dating everybody, trying so many things, going into the beauty industry, wanting to be somebody else, changing the face, changing the hair, wanting to be somebody more than one can organically be, wanting to astute sorry, it's like Spanish, much higher than other people can climb, wanting to get more money than one can from their work. Now this starts to become ill, and you might actually find a pattern that you didn't see. It's like, wow, I'm competitive in the way that I don't want to be. And this could be a competition with yourself or with society or with other women or men or just with people. You might get a very, very wrong feeling about something that you did that you usually do, and it's kind of on autopilot. So people that are like constantly looking at contrasts, and also those of us that don't wish to be noticed for that anymore, like going against the grain and being kind of like a fighter, and not just a fighter, but kind of playing a game against oneself. It's like, I know I'll get a bad vibe, but I will do it again. We have to close it. Also, it's not just about that, but yeah, okay, to reach better choices eventually and to gain yourself back, it's more about the path of non-resistance and, yeah, learning from the past. Like, this here really hurt me before, or like the money that I'm making here is fine, like this is probably going to be the same for years, and that's not bad. Or like, this person here is pretentious and I still keep on trying to make them my best friend. Like, so we just have to basically understand where there's a lot of scouring, or a lot of like even pleasure, hidden pleasure or not so hidden pleasure, going into receiving a certain type of look from people, especially if it's public, or a certain type of result, and we might not realize that. So yeah, the inner masochist comes out, or like the inner autopilot being, or like the person that wants to just criticize everybody, or just an unfavorable part of the face that you present to the world might start to show. And here's where we basically have to call upon something to help, So this is the key. Don't be afraid of crushing your ego down to the smallest size you can. I'm sorry, or like, wow, I have no idea what makes me want to do this. I don't know why I keep on, for example, abusing, or why I keep on talking, why I keep on selfishly presuming, why I keep on smushing myself down into a little ball, or why do I keep on staring at that which cannot give me an answer. So that continuum isn't actually that wrong. It's just that we have got no more questions and answers there. So, you know, the book of question and answers, the book of life, the Akashic Records, Libra. You don't have to do this at all. I'm not telling you to, I'm not trying to like do shaman training on you, nothing like that. But just basically have to know why you have been stuck in a certain pattern. And sometimes we have to let it unravel. I feel that some of the worst case scenarios out there is people just uh, blatantly being dishonest about what they're feeling and wanting the result or the veneer or that next level way more than anything in their life. That sucks. Now that comes with a very big reason why that is. So at the seed of this person, sometimes if a person is very vulgar and uneconomical about who they are, sometimes at the seed of that person and that presence is a lot of love, but also a lot of pain or a lot of disassociation. Now, that's a very hard thing for me to talk to you about because it's a very shamanic principle. So I'm using this today. I'm looking at the seeding of my father and his father to understand what has happened to my evolution as a human. So that's very difficult. So, like, we are talking about reseeding of one's soul. So, this is going to sound very tragic and shameful. But you see, like, I have something in the seeding of my being that makes me do things I don't necessarily want to do for other people. Or, like, it has been part of my pattern before my time was ever here. So this is a whole, it's like a spiritual, like psychic surgery, right? It's like a whole strategy of nervous systems that have created me has been pulled under. So it isn't just me and my choices. Now this is a very, very shamanic element of my work right now. Trying to kind of help you here. So, and also, yeah. The shamanic principle here is basically not to think that it's necessarily just you that does it. You know, it's not necessarily you that wants to feel disjointed, helpless, ironic, distant, or dismembered, or like disassociative in a situation. It's not necessarily you that's running after that prize, knowing that you'll never get that. It's not necessarily you that's making that karma, that's looking for love with the wrong person, or that's trying to make friends out of enemies, or trying to make enemies out of friends. It isn't necessarily you and how you were taught at high school or what your mother said. It's not necessarily her. It's not necessarily her parents or her parents or her. It's like a whole it's like a large number of people sometimes before we were even here that has made us want to do certain things. You know, you think, oh yeah, I saw the car in a catalog. Wow, it's so expensive, but I want this car. You think it's you. You think it's the catalog. Now, this is really hard even for me to get my head around. When we have programming that has happened on a cellular genetic level for sometimes hundreds or even thousands of years. We have to understand this. This is like human, like it's a civilizational question mark. You don't just go, hey, you know, I'm going to unplug this. I'm going to say no. Like, look, I'm going to teach myself a lesson. I'm going to get, we have to sometimes pray, you know. So this is very hard for me. Okay, example, for some other people also too. Find that spot, that weak spot inside that just really like cares so much and just wants to break down and laugh or cry. So these like breakdowns, emotional, psychic, energetic, just sudden changes, sudden freedoms, like suddenly wanting to run away from home, suddenly wanting to cry, suddenly wanting to laugh, suddenly wanting to put it all down the bin and change one's feelings or like theory on life. The sudden, like especially when you get older, you know this feeling. It's like you're not a teenager anymore, so these ups and downs can't be afforded. Most people that I have here on my channel, I presume you guys are not teenagers. I presume you're like over 30 or a little bit less. Like there is like this wisdom, you see, like that sometimes I know that I've lost simply because I haven't rebelled as a young person. Then I had to go through all of these things like a sleepwalker, like a zombified person, to be able to get to where I am today. But like that took too many questions and too many answers. And sometimes if you are in a progressive line of people also, you can see the question and answer. You can almost like unravel a book of another person, or you see yourself as a progression, not just like a solid ego. You see all of these different patterns and all of these different programs and all these glitches and then all these geometries and these ugly and these beautiful parts of the self that have basically helped you evolve. But also you have to see it now. It's not just you. Your whole program, probably your whole country has the same setting, you know, and I know I do as well. So basically, like, the one and only way I feel is actually just to find joy in the primitive things. I think that that is going to be a much faster road than the one I'm taking today. So like what I'm going to do, I'll show you. I want to know. I want to know. So like it's like the process. This is crazy, right? The process of really like looking through the books of my ancestry. It's like the feelings and the understandings and question marks and sentiments and all of these knowledges and all of these worths and unworths and values and devalues, you know, they all have to happen. So this is having a really big contemplation session, which is in part what shamanic journeying is in part is seeing visions, yeah, and seeing and feeling and sensing. So you walk inside your body. It's not an outside thing necessarily. For some it is. It's like walking inside your body and you're feeling it and you're walking through it and you're understanding all the different shriveled up things and all the expanded things in your body. You see, you don't have to look at politics, you don't have to look at YouTube channel or anything to know the world. You walk inside your body, and inside of your body is a huge geometric sequence, and beyond it is more and more and more. So it's just like a whole world, it's a universe of sequencing and resequencing that this time can offer, as Chiron is definitely in the right place for it, with Moon close to Chiron. So quick healing and shortcuts also. But then there is also this other way. So we're talking about teenagers. The youngest sign is Aries. You know, being young, being irrelevant, sometimes having no idea, being confused. Take advantage of that. So for some of us that are rebel enough, rebellious enough, young at heart enough, or like secure or significant enough, it's just like, I have no idea. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this still happening. I'm going to have a freak. I'm going to go to the hospital. I'm going to ask them what this is about. I'm going to get a blood test, you know. So there is this like really big child sometimes that wakes up also, like I know inside of me. But you see, like I used to hold it very sacredly, like since I was a kid myself, you know. So like holding that fire and knowing like what not to do. So like I know that I may be overdue for a freak out. You know, I know that there is like a crazy kid that just wants to like throw it all in a bin and just run off or like burn it all down. So well, that's the thing. It's like there is a theory and then there is practice, and also there is an opportunity to simply understand that we can't all do that as well. So in some cases, this big radicalism or freak out that this time can bring can mean a cutting of karma and suddenly just wiping off like 5 or 6 years of your life, or like inducing a state of vulnerability or obsession or lust or sexuality or emotionality. So if you're going through these inducing emotionalities, don't be afraid of them, because it's probably your inner child wanting to rebel against the old phased out economic structure of your mind. So you kind of going on and on and on and on, and you're getting older and older, and you're still missing the point. But like this innocence that sometimes goes like, I want to put all my money on this Ferrari over here, or like I want to fall in love with a much younger man, or like I want to experience sensuality or hanky-panky or something. I don't know, like this brilliance and this immaturity does make you live longer. Some people, you know, feel that if you don't have a crazy moment, you won't last this life. Like if you don't allow yourself to be an ape, or if you don't let yourself be free, you might not make it to that next quantic state of who you are. And it's just about the fear and the lust and the glory, the love and the innocence and the discipline also. Yeah, I gotta say, I gotta put that in there. That really makes a human worthwhile. So not just being a machine anymore. Being worthwhile is sometimes about having love, lust, and all of those other tinglings to help you manage yourself and improve, and yes, aid yourself in the breaking down of who you've been before, breaking down all these barriers and all of these lusts that have been before and that have gotten quiet. So when the brain goes quiet, so you have a previous lust that has been satisfied, previous need, and has gone quiet, and you don't want to stay there because it means you might fall asleep. So to respect yourself more on a level, there might need to be upheaval. Now, this is not what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do, because I have learned a lesson, so this is about discernment, balancing, right? That some of the time, the part that keeps on being quiet is there for a reason, because it is safe keeping and it's actually holy. And some people think it's stagnant or it's evil even, or unwell, but actually I understand that part as much as I understand my child, or like my children, or like the innocent parts that are sparking in me. So it's more about having a dialogue, and that's very easy for me now as an adult, also being a Libra. My birthday is coming up soon. But like, there's no real point to it unless you really, really sense yourself, understand the both. So it's just about the Temperance card, perfect in the tarot. So it's about understanding the boy and the girl inside of yourself, understanding the hot and the cold, understanding the warm and the freezing, the easy and the not so simple, as understanding complexity and obviousness. So it's kind of about having a mediator, a mediating energy, or a mediating voice between the different superimposed and hyperimposed parts of yourself. Also, that sometimes happens to me, to basically try to undress it all down to a simplicity. So the reason why the ego hurts during this time, also being a moon in Aries, the sign of ego in a sense, why it really hurts is sometimes people think, now it's really important, think about how they're doing in comparison to other people. They're like thinking, okay, well, if I don't get this job, if I don't get respect for myself, like, who am I? So like all of this egotistical stuff also thinks that only offer you food, like soul food on an ego level, like say having a quick change, quick question and answer response, having a quick change of partnerships especially, or a quick change of money, or quick. Now that needs to be very much scrutinized. So you probably already know, and you understand what is respect and what is respectful in the world today. Like, did it get you far? Maybe if you have jumped from one relationship to another before, or like, did it really give you anything? But the confusion really is about this one thing, and I think it's just about curiosity versus longevity. Okay, so on one side, yeah, it's getting a little boring now. I'm sorry, you can switch it off. It's not interesting for you, maybe. So like longevity and curiosity. Okay, so longevity says, look, I've lived a life and I've danced the dance, and I've had, for example, all these people in my life before, all these opportunities, and here's my time to repent. I'm doing that. I am. Repent, slow down, understand where my cycle of rebellion or cycle of innocence got me in the wrong hands, or the wrong places, or just wrong situation, where I could have gotten sick or gotten sad or separate from source as part of my rebellious nature and the lust for innocence and curiosity and quirkiness. And also, where have I disappeared? So longevity. That's a very innocent, actually, question, because you're basically trying to preserve who you are. You try to preserve you. And then there are all these other thoughts like, well, you know what? I've grown out of it. Now, this really gets me. People just throw their partners away because, like, we're just grown out of each other. What the? Grown out of each other like a pair of jeans? Like, what? Grown out of each other? Are you serious? What? How old are you? You're like 12? Like, what are you doing? So, but like growing out of situations, feeling like things are dusty and old and like they don't serve you anymore. It's like, I don't want this old house. I want a new, better house. It's like the packet of candy. But then that part also knows there's always more. So this abundance that I suppose the West specifically loves to talk about, this need for like a greater, bigger picture, just a bigger wow. I want a bigger wow. I want a bigger hormone boost. I want a larger kind of like a makeshift reality. I want it to all be about me. I want a more comfortable and confident life. Now, that's not immature per se, but there will be a question mark. So there are some of us that can definitely hop, you know. So there is something like that. It's like fleas hopping from one dog to another. It's like, sorry, there is something about us that can hop now, and that can maybe make an uneducated, at a glance kind of decision, which might unconsciously save you from something else or work out smooth. That's the thing, I can't tell you what to do here. So like sometimes juvenile decisions save us from something else, and something that is packaged or seen as a juvenile truth may actually within itself have a global wisdom. It's just that you don't know it yet. So also, I have to say, like, some things that were just joyful and lustful and seemed fun at the time also did save me from certain fates, but then put me towards certain others. So like sometimes people can cut things wrong here. So for example, quick, fast-paced, spur of the moment change can cost you your career. So for example, just an example, okay, a person has been doing a job for like 12 years, and they were quite happy with the job, and the job paid, and then something happens, and then they decide to make quick buck, or they decide to make a change, or they decide to just basically put it on hold to do something completely different. Now that job they can't connect to later. So it's like either it's going to walk out of their lives, or they won't be able to participate in it anymore, or something will happen to prevent the person to be able to take part on the same level or ever, or it will take a long time to grow back into the job. So like, for example, running out on the partnership and trying somebody else, oh, we're on the break, it's legal, we're going to go, and it's very cheap conversation, and then it just won't work. So like, we have to understand there's truth. It's hard. Now this is difficult. This is difficult. I'm sorry, you guys. It's getting to be a long video now. Okay, there's truth, and then there's like whim. That is difficult. Like, there are things that have been brewing for thousands of years. There are things that have proven to be economical or proven to be nice. There are people that grew into each other, even if it's awkward a little bit, like they did. There are houses and homes, there are families, there are hearths, there are stabilities. Yeah, it's a little stagnant, yeah, it's a little boring, yeah, whatever, but it's safe. It's not just that, it's pure. So it has been for a while, and in that is purity, or there is wisdom there, or there is a consciousness that keeps it growing. There's a relationship that keeps on self-watering, or there is a world. And then there's a tabloid, or there is the catalog, and now we have to make a choice. And yes, yet again, not everybody makes it. So like, this is the thing, when you're jumping from one thing to another, okay, if you have a personality crisis in the middle there somewhere, it's a very, very hard job sometimes, this. You have to be very, very good to your past in order to just say, look, I want to try. Now, this is wonderful. So imagine, this is about temperament, okay? Oh, now it all solves itself. That flea jumping stuff, almost. Okay, so you've been dancing a dance with a beautiful partner in the hall. You're at a ball, like a Victorian ball, medieval ball, I don't know, imagine however you want, whatever country you imagine it in, culture or style of life. You're dancing with a partner, yeah. And then you are offered another dance with another partner. So you gently say, is it okay? Your partner says, okay. You go to another partner and you dance a little dance. Now the song is coming to an end. What do? Do you stay with this person or that? Now this is a question mark. Again, question marks continue. Venus next to the Sun, Mercury also close. There is a need to understand how relationships work. There is a need to understand the insides of what you're doing, not just bounce around. And we have to be very, very careful about what it means to, like, for example, cancel one thing, go to another. We have to understand it. To be no longer reachable in a way, or to be no longer viable in one way, may not put you into that situation later. So it's not just like, I'm gonna go and make my partner give me more attention by dancing with another partner, everybody's gone. You know, it's like these silly methods of sometimes judging a situation by the moment, they do work, and I do understand it, but sometimes there's like a power beyond yours that makes you feel certain things, like that incredible lust, or the phenomena of like joy riding life, or like joy seeking, or wanting to have more results, or wanting to have crazy outlandish results. I know that caricature, that charisma means something in some ways. And then we also have to broaden the spectrum of reality here and respect ourselves for who we are already and have come to be, and yet also evolve. Uranus next to North Node. We can't just stick around like, oh yeah, I got myself a groove. Okay, cool, I like it. We also have to evolve. So the question is, as large as you can handle it. Now this is a freaking hardcore thing to think. I'm sorry, I'm like still going. This is a hardcore thing to think about. This is not just a question of respect. This is not a question of fun and joy writing your experience, or taking it to that next level of who you are as a human being and how you look in front of other people or yourself. It's not just about this stuff, pretty little frilly stuff. It's actually about the book of life. Libra, the book of life. Okay, Akashic Records. It's more like that. It's about evolving yourself past that which you've been probably many times over to, oh, this is going to blow my mind, to experience a space of absolute unity and trust in yourself in every way. Now that's huge. Okay, so this is going to be very hard to imagine, like for me, just right now. Sorry, I'm learning also. Yeah. So like it's more like about you consciously curating your past, present, future, all of this, potential results, everything like that, and then eventually evolving past that repetition, that cycle, and then into another cycle, and you just touch it and you evolve a little bit more and you evolve a little bit more. So how can you afford it? Don't just stand there thinking about it, don't just imagine it. So like the thing is basically to keep the flow. Elegant, Libra, elegance. To keep the flow and not to want to have any more than you have, but also accepting if life gives you something else. So it's about staying fluid and not begging for anything, but yet again asking, but not asking, but then evolving and then not knowing how you did it. So it's totally up to you how you do it. I'm sorry if this got very complicated. It's not all results based, I think that the questions that we're asking is beyond our own civilization. I think the question we're asking, if we are really open, are like beyond like what is life on this planet. I think we're asking what is creator, actually. So in the sequence, okay, it's like about not getting stale on either the result, the program, walking in or walking out. It's not about whether the cat is inside or outside at all, actually. It's just about whether you are not or you are. And then only some people, oh, this is crazy, gonna get to a place of total acceptance and realization of their responsibility. So this is where you See all that you are a part of. Something is shabby, yeah, something's rotten, something is sparkly, something is brand new, something's lustful, something's gleaming, something is this, something's that. It's like all these little trinkets, almost like a show, like a show. And then eventually you get into your own like little spectrum and something happens, like just happened to me right now actually, just before as I was explaining it to you. You get not necessarily glued, you get kind of put inside a certain point within which there is no separation or negative or positive outcome. It is just a hovering space. So this means basically you accept yourself, if you like, to follow me there, on every single level that you are. So all of these things and trinkets and ideas and bells and whistles and all of these different worlds and how the universe works and what is inside your body and what you do and do not want and what the Akashic record says and everything anybody's ever done and all of this, you just basically start to pulse world. So you are world. So you are together within yourself to such a degree where you are all. And that's very interesting, and sometimes what another person does around you is very interesting and very crazy and very unergonomic, but you basically simplify yourself down to a simple feeling of conscious understanding and no more of this. You just constant. It's like you just get yourself to a very nice fulfilling center, and that's where you basically find yourselves. And all of those little parts of you that were lost, all this garbage that you seen on TV or your parents ever gave you, and all of these ancestors that couldn't really live their own lives and didn't really understand how to like give you yours. It starts to become like one little single thing, and that's a very special place to be. So anyway, thank you so much. I hope this wasn't too bombarding. Please have a look. I have a few things in the caption section below. And yes, the almanac for 2023, I have finished it. I just have to publish it. So yeah, that's going to come out soon. I will do probably a separate video just for that. Thank you. Bye.